Hey, gang, welcome to the Now What Real Estate Podcast, where you find out what works and what does not work in real estate. My name is Jim Jacobus. I'm the coach. My co-host is Jason Keller. He's the agent. We're going to share with you the strategies, tactics, skills, and mindsets you need to build the real estate business you want. We are so thankful that you joined us. Let's get after it. What's up, man? How are you doing? How's everything going in San Antonio today?
Good, very good. Actually have some pretty good, it's actually winter time now. I'm wearing a jacket, but it's nice weather. It's gonna be like 70 degrees and sunny. So it's one of the reasons to live in San Antonio. It's beautiful weather and good economy, good housing, market
Yeah.
for those of you who are interested in real estate out there.
If anybody wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, Jason,
Yeah, I know a guy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you're listening to us anywhere around the country and you need a referral partner in San Antonio, I'm going to shamelessly plug this guy right over here. I know he'll take great care of you. Well, hey gang. So we've done a couple of podcasts here, podcast 0, 1, and 2. We're just all about letting you guys know who we are. Now we're going to jump into some content. And Jason, you and I talked about where to start. Should we start with something that's, light and fluffy? Well, gang, we're not doing that. This is podcast 003, and it's the 3 reasons why real estate agents fail. And again, we're always going to be transparent. We're going to encourage you. And part of why we want to do the why agents fail is because, Jason, everything you're going to talk about, everything I'm going to talk about, it's all fixable. I mean, there's something that
Choices.
you can do something about this.
Yeah.
So when you wrote down your notes, why agents fail, what did you put down there? What do you have?
Yeah. So obviously we're each going to do 3, but for me, I put work, expectations, and why. And the work is, if you just do the work and you're consistent, you're going to get the result you're going to get the result proportionate to the work you do. So,
Right.
If you want to sell 100 houses, it's a relationship, just an equation. And then you got to be honest with yourself if you're actually doing the work. And a lot of agents I see out there, they say they're doing it because they made a couple of phone calls a couple times this week. But you got to do the work. You got to be honest with yourself. Number 2, you have to have your expectations have to be in line.
Hang on, I'm going to stop you there. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like real estate is a really easy place for somebody to hang out and act like they're doing the work?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in our last podcast. It's one of the world's most expensive hobbies. And I think people get into real estate because they think, well, I don't have to work. I have free time. But if I if I get my aunt married to sell a house, I'll make 10 grand and I'll have to do that a couple times a year. And so, yeah, I mean, and I see people, in the car business, we used to joke about standing out front, smoking, joking, drinking a Coke, and it's like a cliche thing, but right outside my office in the building here, there's a whole bullpen area that people are just sitting around talking. And there's one guy out there who's very nice, but he literally just sits and stares at his computer all day. I do real estate for a living and I can't do that. So yeah, it's a big hangout for a lot of people,
Yeah.
but they stayed all day in the office. So they said they worked, but it's really not work.
So that was one of the things that surprised me because, again, we talked about me being a professional speaker for all these years, doing that work. There were tons of people who said they were a consultant, said they were a professional speaker. And reality was they weren't doing anything. And when I got into real estate as a productivity coach, the same thing. I've told you the story about my son, Jason, and worked for us when he first got out of college. And he lived in Fort Worth and we were in Houston. He goes, well, how would you know whether I'm working or not? I go, dude, I've been doing this a long time. Yeah. I know whether you're working or not. And he was like, okay. Well, later on, he became a VP of sales and had a bunch of salespeople. And he called me on the phone one day. And he goes, by the way, I just wanted to tag you on something. I go, what? He goes, remember when you told me you knew whether I was working or not? I go, yeah. He goes, I totally get it now.
Yeah.
He said, I got salespeople. I'm getting calls and text messages all day long. And then I got guys that don't text message me once a week. And they want to know how I know they're not working. So, I mean, I think real estate's a lot like that too. I mean, it's really an easy place for somebody to hide out, act like either to themselves or to their family or whatever, act like they're really working and they're not.
Yeah. What's the thing? The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, no kidding. So, yeah.
But yeah, same. I totally agree.
Okay. So what was your second one? I'm sorry, man.
Just expectations, and that's expectations around time, the effort it takes, and then financial expectations. Again, it kind of dovetails into what you're just saying, but you have to have all those things lined up. And again, I've promised to you guys that are listening, I'm always going to be 100% transparent. my expectations around time were totally wrong. And what I mean by that is, I thought I have a professional sales background. I worked at a very competitive company, and that I would just roll into real estate and be a millionaire, and everything was going to be easy. But it takes time, it takes effort. And then, proportionate to that, that's where you can determine, what the financial rewards are going to be. But, people come in and think, well, I've got 6 weeks of, savings, and I can sell a house in a month and I'll have a paycheck. And, so, you just gotta, and I don't, again, we're not trying to dissuade anybody or scare anybody off, but this is just the reality of it. And I think, people have to have, and we're going to help you with that. We're going to talk to you about what the real expectations are, but I just think people come at this and don't really, they really haven't nailed down what it's really going to take and how long it's going to take.
Yeah, I think one of the things I saw a lot in the PC program was a lot of people who didn't have what I called enough runway. In other words, they didn't have enough money saved up in order to make it through, that transition period. And again, we're not here saying that you can't sell one in the first month, but if you're dependent on that, that could be a problem. So,
well, but you can do it also, but if you're that time critical, then you need to be doing double and triple down. If Jim, as the productivity coach, told you need to be making, $20 a day or $50 a day, it might be $150 a day. You can do it, but things have to be lined up. And I think that's where people will hit a pothole, is that, they come hang out like we talked about a second ago, and I did 20 phone calls. Well, yeah, but you needed to do 200. So, and that's really where I'm coming from on that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And then my third one is motivation, or what's your why. And I think, we've kind of joked about it. People think they're going to come in and buy the yacht or have the private plane or make millions and millions of dollars. That is all definitely possible. But if you don't have a good foundation as to why you're doing it, why you got started, who you're doing it for, which for me was my girls. I completely changed my career at, 45 years of age to go into real estate. And I'm going to, again, being honest, like, I didn't have my time expectations right. And it took me longer, and it was harder than what I thought, but I've gotten there by just doing the work. And I'm going to quote Jim a lot. Obviously he's my coach, and he's got a lot of wisdom, but remember why you started. And when you're having a down day, or the deal fell apart, or things happen, if you have your motivations right, if you've really focused in on your why, which, again, I'm always going to quote books, but the one thing, Gary Keller book, and again, I'm a KW agent. Where's my logo? There it is. I'm going to quote some books, not just Keller Williams book, because I know I talked about the MREA, but the one thing is a great book. And the more that you can focus on why you started, and not just to get rich, you're going to have a much better, much more grounded attempt at being good at real estate.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Part of your why was the girls, but you also wanted a lifestyle where you could be around for them and everything.
Yeah. I mean, there was other things, but like, if I had to just really boil it down, and I've got pictures of my girls all over the office, and I say my girls, that's my wife and my two daughters. They're 4 and 6 right now. But whenever I'm, don't want to make that next phone call, or whenever the lady wants to pull her house off the market because someone, walked across her front lawn. I mean, there's crazy stuff that happens. I just look at the pictures of my girls, and I pick up the phone and I make the next phone call, or just move on. But it's definitely, I guess there are people that are totally money driven, but I just think if you don't have a good solid foundation, it's really hard to make this work.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take you back a little bit. Don't get teary eyed on me. But if you remember, not long after you started, what was one of your big whys that is now a reality? Do you remember?
Yeah. Well, we had a baby girl, Jordan, who's 4 now, but born premature, and pretty scary for a few months. I assume that's what you're teaming me up on.
No, actually, I do remember that one, but I'm going to take you to the most recent one though. What was the biggest thing you wanted to accomplish that is now a reality there in your office?
Oh, bringing my wife into the business.
Yeah. Getting Lisa out of the grind of working at Sewell. And again, I remember
I find a lot of ways to motivate myself, so get out, quit a job that I made a decent living at, have a baby premature, get my wife to quit her job. I used to joke about, when I was a sales manager, I wanted my salespeople to go buy a boat or jet ski, so they had motivation.
Absolutely. 100%.
Have a daughter and get your wife to leave her career of 15 years. Those are some pretty good motivators.
Well, and I remember when you told me about that, I told you, and gang, I'm going to tell you the same thing. You tell me what your why is, and I know that you're connected to it. I'm going to beat you over the head with it until you go do the work. I mean, that's the whole idea. If you've got a big enough why, you'll figure out how.
Yeah.
So cool.
So what are your three, Jim? I know I made my notes. What are your three reasons why you think agents aren't as successful or don't make it?
Yeah, well, and again, this is something I've taught forever, and it's more, I think, from a principle standpoint, but it boils down to the same blocking and tackling you're talking about. I always tell people there's three reasons why people don't do what they need to do. Whether it's your kid doesn't make the bed, somebody doesn't do the job at work, but certainly it applies here. They don't know what to do, they can't do it, or they won't do it. And doesn't know, that's the first reason why. It just means that nobody's taught them what to do. They've not been educated. And one of the reasons that I chose to go to Keller Williams, and again, we're not sounding very agnostic here, but that is our background. Being the background that I had as a sales trainer and everything, Keller Williams was named the #1 training organization in the world. And I've told people many times after being involved in it, that's legit. And so I think education is important, and learning about how to do the business is important. And we're talking here more principles and theory and things like that. And so to solve the doesn't know problem, it's educate, educate, educate. The second problem is they don't know how to do it. And I'm a big believer in scripts and script practicing and, case scenarios. And we're going to do a ton of those in the podcast here. But in order to learn how to do or what to do, you train. And again, I love the training that I do. I love the training that Keller Williams does. We're going to give you tons of training in here. We have plans to do webinars down the road and stuff like that. So we're going to make it a part of what to do. But I know a lot of people, they don't know how to do it and they don't know what to do. And so we're going to have a lot of that stuff.
Let me ask you a question because sorry for interrupting you, but yeah, sure. we're definitely not. I mean, we're Keller Williams affiliated, but this is real estate in general. But what do you recommend that someone who's not at the best training organization in the world, whatever, Remax, great company, like someone who's there, like what would you recommend for them to go out and find the education that they need?
That's a great question, man. I think there's a couple things I tell people all the time now. One is books. There's tons of great books out there. Yes, we recommend the MREA. Yes, we recommend one thing. We recommend other podcasts and YouTube channels. There's some great stuff out there.
Sales Ninja is a great book, and it's not affiliated with any.
Yep. The Greatest Salesman on Earth. I mean, all of that kind of stuff is great education. I love the guys over at Real Estate Uncensored. You know that. I love listening to them. They're a mess. But their stuff is solid. I mean, Tom Ferry stuff. I would say this. I'm going to be really careful, and we'll talk about this in one of the next couple of podcasts. Don't go spend a bunch of money on training early, all right? Your local mortgage companies are doing training. Your local title companies are doing training. Your local, in our case, Houston Association of Realtors, your local, realtor deal, they're doing training. Go to everything. Your open houses at new builds, they're doing training. Everywhere you can find training, go to it, soak it all up. But you ought to be listening to somebody's podcast on the way to and from work. You ought to be listening to, this is a good one, by the way, listen to YouTube channels, watch YouTube channels. Just soak up everything you can, but don't go spend a bunch of money on a coaching program. And I'm a coach, right? Don't do that right off the bat. If your company offers training, go to every single one of them. There's enough free training out there right now. Nobody needs to be paying for anything. So
I would add one point to that, though, because, and again, one of the things that I did in the beginning is I signed up for a bunch of training, and I was kidding myself that I was doing real estate. So I think
that's true.
It's part of the hangout thing. And so I think you have to do the training, but it's got to be time blocked. And for me, like in my personal calendar from 8:30 to 9:30, is personal development. That's where I listen to my Tom Ferry videos or the podcast, the Real Estate Rockstars, any of the ones that we love and follow and respect. Yeah. But you can overtrain too. And I don't want to steal your thunder 100%. On that, but you have to do the blocking and tackling. You can't just, and I mean, my first day in real estate was the first step to Bold, which is a wonderful, Keller Williams. But, and I was like, well, I'm in real estate now. And then I went to an expansion systems orientation to how to expand team, into different cities. And I hadn't even sold my first house. Yeah. So I would only say like, yes, get the training. That is key. And there's things out there, but like also that's got to be like a portion of the day, not all the day. So.
Well, no, that's funny you bring that up because I 100% agree with you. And again, you asked me what I see when I stand in front of groups and things like that. I can see who's there just saying, okay, I'm in training, so I'm working.
Professional trainee. Yeah.
No. And I always told them, look out for the Keller 10.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's the Keller 10? I go, it's the 10 pounds you gain at Keller Williams going to all the lunches that all of the different mortgage companies pay for. And you're eating all that food up. Now, I said, if you're actually out there working, you'll shed those pounds because you're doing the job. So if you gain 10 pounds in your first 90 days, I know right away you're not doing the work because you can't possibly be doing that.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's the first two, and the biggest number of problems fall into those two categories. They don't know what to do, and they haven't been trained to do it. They don't know how to do it. The one area where it's the same thing you were talking about a while ago. The third one is they don't know, can't do, or they won't do, and they won't do it because they're not motivated. And again, I say not motivated. I mean, not motivated enough to do the hard work. All right. You were motivated enough to leave a job. You were motivated enough to go get your real estate license. That tells me a lot about you because that's not easy. But I do think, like you said, people get into real estate and it's like going, oh, now what? That's scary. And
that is the name of our podcast, by the way.
Yeah, that's why we named it that way. Yeah, heck yeah. But I think that's part of the deal. Is it's really scary because all of a sudden you're being told you need to become a marketer. You need to learn how to run a business. You need to learn taxes. You need to learn how to sell. What do you say when somebody asks you the question, are you new? And you're like going, what do I say? Well, actually, there's a great script for that.
Right.
If you don't know that and you haven't trained to do that, then all of a sudden that why that isn't quite strong enough is not going to get you where you want to go. But if that why is big enough, you're motivated enough. And by the way, I've always thought there are three motivators. One is fear or pain, and that works for a while. The second one's joy or pleasure. That works for a while. But the only real motivator that is going to last and that will get you through the times that are scary and the times you go home and crawl up in a fetal position in the bathroom on the floor because you made this commitment and now
you're sharing my personal information now, Jim.
Your mom and dad are telling you, what are you doing? You'll never be anything. You're supposed to work 9 to 5 at the factory forever, or whatever their version of that story is. But yet you branched out. If you don't have a big enough why, you'll crater. And then you're going to have to go back and everybody's going to, criticize you and go, how could who do you think you are, breaking away from the flock and all that? But if your why is big enough, you'll do all those things. You'll continue on. And the only why that endures is a sense of purpose. All right. A sense of purpose that goes beyond a paycheck. I tell people all the time, if your why is about a number on a check, all right, you're going to plateau. You'll get stuck somewhere. But if your why is bigger than a paycheck, and it really has to do with helping people, all right, then there's no limit to how big that paycheck can get. So when I really look at it from that sort of foundational standpoint, doesn't know, can't do, won't do, doesn't know, educate. Can't do, train. Won't do, find a sense of purpose. And Jason, I'm gonna say this, it's gonna sound really cruel. All right. I don't think I've ever said this to you because you don't fit its category. But I'm going to say this, all right? And I'm going to say both sides of this coin. When I was a professional speaker, NSA chapter president, I brought in a very successful lady that is known for being straightforward and brash. And she was standing in front of about 200 people that wanted to be a speaker. Some were already speakers, but again, it's a lot like real estate. 95% of those people wanted to be a speaker and had a dream. And she said this, she said, if you're not any good at what you're doing now, what makes you think you're going to be any good at this? And I'm sitting in the back of the room. I brought her in. I am cringing. But I also thought at the same time, that's the best message she could give anybody. If you're not any good at what you're doing now, what makes you think you're going to be any good at this? And again, maybe the best thing to do is get them out of professional speaking as fast as possible. What she didn't add is what I would add now. All right. If you're not any good at what you're doing right now, what makes you think you're going to be any good at this? That's true. But here's what I would tell them. If you've never done anything significant in your life, you've never done something out of the ordinary, you've never done something amazing that you can look back on and believe that you have what it takes to be amazing at this, this is the best place on the planet I've ever seen to start. I believe that. I believe real estate is the best place for somebody who's never done anything significant or amazing to start. And this could be the first place you've done something incredible, and it can change your life forever. I hope I say that in every podcast. This could change your life forever. And I really believe real estate's one of the best places on the planet to do that. I don't know anywhere else. But there's so much support, so many great places to go, so much great information. And it's such a neat industry, helping people buy and sell homes, that I think it's as cool as it can get. So that why is huge. And if you don't have one, I think this is a good place to get it. That'd be my 3.
I think you nailed it. Mic drop.
Bye-bye. See you guys later. Have a good week. Yeah. Subscribe below, share with everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I said, I mean, everything you said, everything I said is fixable. All right. There's nothing about what either one of us shared that isn't something somebody can do something about. All right. And so I think that's the good news about the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Anything you want to add before we drop off here?
No, honestly, I think that was a great summation of what we just said. And I think it's so true. And I just encourage people to take a step back and really start thinking about what the big why is. And then if it's us or any of the other great people we mentioned, there's a path to get there. Just, choose to work with or listen to who speaks to your soul. And then the path will line up for you if you really want it. So,
yeah. Well, and again, I can think of people who I have seen do exactly what you said. They just outworked it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people sit in my office and cry. They don't know how they're going to do it. And I tell them, and they go do it. And then now I look at them and I see what they've accomplished. That doesn't make up for all the people that didn't go do it. That still breaks my heart. But watching them do it, that's what makes me be able to look in the camera and go, you can do this. Because I've seen people do it and do it with some amazing results. So anyway, gang, again, we did not want to start off with a negative, but we want to be real about all of this. We're going to be that way all the way through. If you like the podcast, subscribe below, leave us a comment. We'll be glad to answer. If you're listening, if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Let us know what you need there. Share it with somebody else. Help us build this community, and we're going to continue helping people out. Jason, like I said, I always appreciate you, man. I appreciate you as a friend. I appreciate you as a client, but I really appreciate you as a co-host on this podcast. Now that we've done a handful of these, I think we're going to do some fun stuff here. So thanks for all your hard work and for your willingness to be transparent in front of all these folks. I really appreciate that, man. You guys have a good day out there. We'll see you next week. Take care, gang.